In this video, let us analyze the meaning of capital structure, definition, the forms and the difference between the capital structure and financial structure. Capital structure is referred to as the ratio of different kinds of securities raised by a firm as long-term finance. The capital structure involves two important decisions. One is deciding the type of securities to be issued, and the second decision is deciding upon the relative ratio of securities. When the company is deciding the type of securities to be issued, the company can decide to issue either equity shares, preference shares, or it could decide on issuing long-term borrowings, namely debentures. The second decision of deciding the relative ratio of securities can be determined by the process of capital gearing. The relative ratio of securities, meaning to say, what would be the amount of equity to debt? So on this basis, the companies are divided into two categories, highly geared companies and low geared companies. What are highly geared companies? Those companies whose proportion of equity capitalization is small is called as highly geared companies. And those companies whose equity capital dominates the total capitalization is called as low geared companies. Now coming to the definitions of capital structure. According to the definition given by Gerent and Beck, capital structure of a company refers to the composition or the makeup of its capitalization, and it includes all long-term capital resources. According to James C. Van Horn, the capital structure refers to the mix of firms' permanent long-term financing represented by debt, preferred stock, and common stock equity. So by this, we understand that capital structure refers to the composition of a company's long-term capital. Now, what are the different forms of capital structure a company could have? A company could have only equity shares as its capital structure. It could have a combination of equity and preference shares only. It could have a combination of equity and debentures only, or it could have a combination of all the three, equity shares, preference shares, and debentures as its long-term capital structure. Now, what is the difference between finance structure and capital structure? Capital structure, as discussed, it includes only the long-term sources of funds, whereas your finance structure includes both long-term and short-term sources of funds. As discussed, capital structure means only long-term liabilities of the firm, company or a firm. But financial structure includes the entire liability side of the balance sheet of a company. Capital structure consists of equity, preference shares, and retained earnings capital, whereas financial structure consists of all sources of capital. It could be short-term or it could be long-term. The last difference between capital structure and financial structure is it is one of the major factor that we use to determine the value of the firm. Whereas your financial structure is not so important in determining the value of the firm. With this, we come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching the video.